There was a 7-year-old boy on his knees praying before bedtime. And as he began to close his eyes, he was brought up into heaven. And when he got there, all he could see was miles and miles and miles of warehouses. And filled with curiosity, he asked God, "What's in those buildings?" God smiled and said, "Come, let's see." And as he and God walked through the massive doors and entered these buildings, all he could see were storage units and huge containers, each one having a name on it that he recognized. He saw his little brother's name, his little sister's name, his mother's name, his father's name, his uncle's name, his cousin's name, his classmates' names, his teachers' names, all the people at church. He saw all the names on these containers. So he asked God, "What's in there?" God smiled and said, "Come, let's see." He took the little boy by the hand and walked over to the containers, and one by one began opening them. And he said, "Son, these are all the gifts, blessings, victories, breakthroughs, healing, happiness, peace, and abundance that I want to give to my people if they would just believe. Go back home, son, and tell them all that I have for them. Tell them just how much I love them, and that with me, all things are possible. Because I, God, will never, ever, ever fail my people. All I ask of them is to believe. Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, 'Go, throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them." Religion won't change your life, but faith will. Our objective is not to have faith, it's to become it. God still moves mountains. Faith is oxygen. Don't let your dreams suffocate. Anything outside the promises of God is just a temporary illusion. I dare you to believe. Faith is your weapon. And it's time for us as believers to go to war. Now I want to clear something up. Hoping and wishing ain't the same thing as trusting God. There's 3 kinds of faith: hope, faith, and trust. Now hope is, I hope there's a God up there. I hope he has the power to change the world. I hope he loves me enough to intervene on my behalf. Then there's faith, the next level. And faith is, I believe there's a God up there. And I believe, I have faith that he has power to change the world. But I hope that he loves me enough to intervene on my behalf. 99% of the church body as a whole resides in the first 2 levels of faith, hope and faith. This is why the church today is functioning in limited power. Now the 3rd level is trust. And this is where the power's at. Trust is, I know there's a God up there. I know he has the power to change the world. I know he loves me enough because he sent his son for me. And I know he will not fail me, and he will intervene on my behalf. And I trust him enough to step out and do something. This kind of trust is what got Peter out of the boat. There were 12 disciples there with God, but only one trusted him enough to get out of the boat and to walk on that water. And it's no coincidence that God chose to build his church on the rock. Peter, it's time to stop wishing, hoping, and crossing our fingers that God is gonna do something. It's time to start trusting and believing in the one we serve. Prayer without expectation is not a prayer, it's a wish. It's not the length of your prayer that gives it power. It's the faith behind it. Your focus is hindering God's power. Stop focusing on your problem and focus on the God to which all things bow. Church is not some place that we go. It's something that we are. It's not a location. It's not a building. It's a mindset, a lifestyle. God did not design you to be comfortable. He designed you to conquer. And to do that, you gotta get out the comfort zone. You gotta stretch. You gotta reach. You gotta strive for greatness. Dare to believe all things are possible. God has given you the promised land, but the only way you're gonna enter it is by faith. You gotta seize the moment. You gotta conquer the day. For the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Don't let doubt downsize God's plan for your life. From this point forward, pray only one-time prayers. Whatever your need is, go to God's word and find out what it says. And then you stand on what that word says. So when you pray, you ask God one time. And then from that moment forward, you believe that prayer is answered. Don't pray it again. Because if you pray it twice, the enemy's gonna think you didn't believe what you prayed for the first time. The enemy can't read your mind, but he can hear your words. And he can smell fear, and he can smell doubt. That's like blood to a shark to him. It's time for believers to start believing. We gotta stop serving our emotions and start serving God. Real faith is never subject to circumstances. It's unconditional. Faith is more than words. It's an unconditional activity, a continuous action of refusing to concede or accept one's current circumstances. The only outcome I will accept is the one that God promised. You have to authorize God to do the impossible. Your faith grants that authorization. Go get your victory. Dreams bloom in the fertile soil of expectation. I dare you to believe. Your eyes were designed to see the visible. Faith allows you to see the invisible, what's to come, to peer into the future. Destiny is obligated by universal law to concede to the demands of unwavering faith. No matter where you are or what your circumstance is, faith will bend and shape reality in order to bring heaven to you. As believers, we're supposed to be pro-life, but everyday Christians are committing abortions. And what I mean by that is every time you give up on a dream, every time you doubt God, you commit abortion on a life that you could have had. Every ounce of your being, everything on the outside of you, all the people around you might be saying what you're trying to do is impossible. But with God, all things are possible. If you really want to change your life, you take Matthew 19:26. With God, all things are possible. And you make that the foundation of your existence. Because the faith that pleases God is the faith that pursues doing the impossible. Because that gives God an opportunity to shine. I'm Billy Alsbrooks, blessed and unstoppable. And as always, to God be the glory.